Book 4, Canto 10, The Legend of Cambyll and Telamond. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Faerie Queene by Edmund Spenser. Book 4, The Legend of Cambyll and Telamond. Canto 10. Scudamore doth his conquest tell of virtuous Amoret. Great Venus' temple is described, and lovers' life forth set. True he it said, whatever man it said, that love with gall and honey doth abound. But if the one be with the other weighed, for every dram of honey therein found, a pound of gall doth over it redound. That I too true by trial have approved, for since the day that first with deadly wound my heart was launched, and learned to have loved, I never joyed hour, but still with care was moved. And yet such grace is given them from above, that all the cares and evil which they meet may not at all their settled minds remove, but seem gainst common sense to them most sweet, as boasting in their martyrdom unmeet. So all that ever yet I have endured, I count as naught, and tread down under feet, since of my love at length I rest assured, that to disloyalty she will not be allured. Long were to tell the travell and long toile, through which this shield of love I late have won, and purchased this peerless beauties spoil, that harder may be ended than begun. But since ye so desire, your will be done. Then hark, ye gentle knights and ladies free, my hard mishaps, that ye may learne to shun. For though sweet love to conquer glorious be, yet is the paine thereof much greater than the fee. What time the fame of this renowmed prize flew first abroad, and all mens ears poffeft, I having armes then taken, gan avise to win me honour by some noble jest, and purchafe me some place amongft the best. I boldly thought, so young mens thoughts are bold, that this fame brave emprize for me did reft, and that both shield and she, whom I behold, might be my lucky lot, fith all by lot we hold. So on that hard adventure forth I went, and to the place of peril shortly came, that was a temple faire and aunchient, which of great mother Venus bare the name, and far renowmed through exceeding fame, much more than that which was in Paphos built, or that in Cyprus, both long since this fame, though all the pillars of the one were gilt, and all the others pavement were of ivory spilt. And it was seated in an ifland ftrong, abounding all with delicies most rare, and walled by nature gainst invaders wrong, that none mote have accefle, nor inward fare, but by one way that passage did prepare. It was a bridge built in goodly wize, with curious corbies and pendants graven faire, and arched all with porches, did arize on stately pillars, framed after the Doric guize. And for defence thereof on the other end there reared was a castle faire and ftrong, that warded all, which in or out did wend, and flanked both the bridges fides along, gainst all that would it faine to force or wrong. And therein wonted 20 valiant knights, all 20 tried in warres experience long, by all meanes to maintaine that castles ancients rights. Before that castle was an open plaine, and in the midft thereof a pillar placed, on which this shield of many sought in vaine, the shield of love, whofe guerdon me hath graced, was hanged on high with golden ribbons laced, and in the marble ftone was written this, with golden letters goodly well enchaced: Bleffed the man that well can ufe his blifle, whofe ever be the shield, faire Amoret be his. Which when I read, my heart did inly earne, and pant with hope of that adventures hap, ne stayed further newes thereof to learne, but with my speare upon the shield did rap, that all the castle ringed with the clap. Straight forth issued a knight all armed to proof, and bravely mounted to his most mishap, who ftaying not to question from aloof, ran fierce at me, that fire glaunft from his horfes hoof. Whom boldly I encountered as I could, and by good fortune shortly him unfeated, eftfoones outfprung two more of equal mould, but I them both with equal hap defeated. So all the 20 I likewife entreated, and left them groning there upon the plaine. Then preafing to the pillar I repeated the reed thereof for guerdon of my paine, and taking down the shield, with me did it retaine. So forth without impediment I paft, till to the bridges utter gate I came, the which I found fure locked and chained faft. I knocked, but no man anfwered me by name, I called, but no man anfwered to my claime. Yet I perfervered ftill to knocke and call, till at the laft I fpide within the fame, where one stood peeping through a crevice fmall, to whom I called aloud, half angry therewithal. That was to wit the porter of the place, unto whofe truft the charge thereof was lent. His name was Doubt, that had a double face, the one forward looking, the other backward bent, therein refembling Janus aunchant, which hath in charge the ingate of the yeare. And evermore his eyes about him went, as if fome proved perill he did feare, or did misdoubt fome ill, whofe cause did not appeare. On the one fide he, on the other fet Delay, behind the gate, that none her might efpy, whofe manner was all paffengers to ftay, and entertaine with her occafions fly. Through which fome loft great hope unheedily, which never they recover might againe, and others quite excluded forth did lie, long languifhing there in unpitied paine, and feeking often entrance, afterwards in vaine. Me when as he had privily efpide, bearing the fhield, which I had conquered late, he kenned it ftreight, and to me opened wide. So in I paft, and ftreight he closed the gate. But being in, Delay in clofe await caught hold on me, and thought my fteps to ftay, feigning full many a fond excuse to prate, and time to fteale the threafure of mans day, whofe fmalleft minute loft no riches render may. But by no meanes my way I would forflow, for aught that ever fhe could do or say, but from my lofty fteed difmounting low, paft forth on foot, beholding all the way the goodly works, and ftones of rich affay, caft into sundry fhapes by wondrous fkill, that like on earth no where I reckon may. And underneath the river rolling ftill with murmur foft, that feem'd to ferve the workmans will. Thenceforth I paffed to the fecond gate, the gate of good defert, whofe goodly pride and coftly frame were long here to relate. The fame to all stood alwayes open wide, but in the porch did evermore abide an hideous Gyant, dreadfull to behold, that ftopt the entrance with his fpacious ftride, and with the terror of his countenance bold, full many did affray, that elfe faine enter would. His name was Daunger dreaded over all, who day and night did watch and duly ward, from fearefull cowards entrance to forftall, and faint hart fooles, whom shew of perill hard could terrify from fortunes faire adward. For oftentimes faint harts at firft efpial of his grim face were from approaching fcared, unworthy they of grace, whom one denial excludes from faireft hope, withouten further trial. Yet many doughty warriors often tride in greater perills to be ftout and bold, durft not the fternefle of his looke abide, but foone as they his countenance did behold, began to faint, and feel their courage cold, against some other, that in hard affayes were cowards known, and little count did hold, either through gifts or guile, or such like wayes, crept in by stooping low, or stealing of the kayes. But I, though meanest man of many moe, yet much disdaining unto him to lout, or creep between his legs, so in to go, resolved him to affault with manhood ftout, and either beat him in, or drive him out. Eftfoones advancing that enchanted fhield, with all my might I gan to lay about, which when he faw the glaive, which he did wield, he gan forthwith t'availe, and way unto me yield. So as I entered, I did backward looke, for feare of harme, that might lie hidden there, and lo his hind parts, whereof heed I tooke, much more deformed fearfull ugly were, then all his former parts did erft appeare. For hatred, murther, treafon, and defpight, with many moe lay in ambuihment there, awaiting to entrap the warelefle wight, which did not them prevent with vigilant forefight. Thus having paft all perill, I was come within the compafle of that iflands fpace, the which did feeme unto my fimple doome the onely pleafant and delightfull place, that ever troden was of footings trace. For all that nature by her mother wit could frame in earth, and forme of subftance bafe, was there, and all that nature did omit, art playing fecond natures part, fupplyed it. No tree, that is of count, in green wood growes, from loweft juniper to cedar tall, no flowre in field, that dainty odour throwes, and decks his branch with bloffoms over all, but there was planted, or grew naturall, nor fence of man fo coy and curious nice, but there mote find to pleafe it felfe withall, nor hart could wifh for any quaint device, but there it prefent was, and did fraile fence entice. In fuch luxurious plenty of all pleafure, it feemed a fecond paradife to guefle, so lavifhly enriched with natures treafure, that if the happy foules, which do poffefle the Elyfian fields, and live in lafting blefle, fhould happen this with living eye to fee, they foone would loath their leffer happinefle, and wifh to life returned againe to be, that in this joyous place they mote have joyance free. Frefh fhadowes fit to fhroud from funny ray, faire lawnes to take the funne in feafon dew, fweet fprings, in which 1,000 nymphs did play, foft rumbling brookes, that gentle flumber drew, high reared mounts, the lands about to vew, low looking dales, difloyned from common gaze, delightfull bowers, to folace lovers trew, falfe labyrinths, fond runners eyes to daze, all which by nature made did nature felfe amaze. And all without were walkes and alleys dight, with divers trees enranged in even rankes, and here and there were pleafant arbours pight, and shady feates and fundry flowring bankes, to fit and reft the walkers weary shankes. And there in 1,000 pairs of lovers walkt, praifing their God, and yielding him great thankes, ne ever ought but of their true loves talkt, ne ever for rebuke or blame of any balkt. All thefe together by themfelves did fport their spotlefle pleafures, and fweet loves content. But far away from thefe another fort of lovers linked in true hearts confent, which loved not as thefe for like intent, but on chaft vertue grounded their defire, far from all fraud or feigned blandifhment, which in their spirits kindling zealous fire, brave thoughts and noble deeds did evermore afpire. Such were great Hercules and Hylas deare, true Jonathan and David trufty tried, ftout Theseus and Pirithous his feare, Pylades and Orestes by his fide, mild Titus and Giffippus without pride, Damon and Pythias, whom death could not fever, All these, and all that ever had been tryde, In bands of friendship there did live for ever, Whofe lives, although decayd, yet loves decayed never. Which when as I, that never tasted blifle, Nor happy houre beheld with gazefull eye, I thought there was none other heaven then this, And gan their endlefle happinefle envy, That being free from feare and jealoufie, Might frankly there their loves defire poffefle, Whileft I through paines and perillous jeopardy Was forced to feeke my lifes deare patronefle. Much dearer be the things, which come through hard diftrefle. Yet all thofe fights, and all that elfe I faw, Might not my fteps withhold, but that forthright Unto that purpoft place I did me draw, Where as my love was lodged day and night, The temple of great Venus, that is hight The Queene of beauty, and of love the mother, There worshipped of every living wight, Whofe goodly workmanfhip farre paft all other, That ever were on earth, all were they fet together. Not that fame famous temple of Diane, Whofe hight all Ephefiis did overfee, And which all Asia fought with vowes profane, One of the worlds 7 wonders fayd to be, Might match with this by many a degree, Nor that, which that wife King of Jewry framed, With endlefle coft to be the Almighties fee, Nor all that elfe through all the world is named, To all the heathen Gods might like to this be claimed. I much admiring that fo goodly frame, Unto the porch approcht, which open ftood, And therein fat an amiable dame, That feem'd to be of very fober mood, And in her femblant fhewed great womanhood. Strange was her tire, for on her head a crowne She wore much like unto a Danifke hood, Powdred with pearle and ftone, and all her gowne Enwoven was with gold, that wrought full low adowne. On either fide of her 2 young men stood, Both ftrongly armed, as fearing one another, Yet were they brethren both of half the blood, Begotten by 2 fathers of one mother, Though of contrary natures to each other. The one of them hight Love, the other Hate. Hate was the elder, Love the younger brother, Yet was the younger ftronger in his ftate Then the elder, and him maftred ftill in all debate. Nathelefle that dame fo well them tempred both, That fhe them forced hand to joyne in hand, Albe that hatred was thereto full loth, And turned his face away, as he did ftand Unwilling to behold that lovely band. Yet fhe was of fuch grace and vertuous might, That her commandement he could not withftand, But bit his lip for felonous defpight, And gnafht his iron tufkes at that difpleafing fight. Concord fhe cleeped was in common reed, Mother of bleffed peace and friendship trew. They both her twins, both born of heavenly feed, And fhe her felfe likewife divinely grew, The which right well her works divine did fhew, For ftrength and wealth and happinefle fhe lends, And ftrife and warre and anger does fubdew. Of little much, of foes fhe maketh friends, And to afflicted minds fweet reft and quiet fends. By her the heaven is in his courfe contained, And all the world in ftate unmoved ftands, As their almighty Maker firft ordained, And bound them with inviolable bands. Elfe would the waters overflow the lands, And fire devoure the aire, and hell them quite. But that fhe holds them with her bleffed hands, She is the nurfe of pleafure and delight, And unto Venus grace the gate doth open right. By her I entring half difmayed was, But fhe in gentle wife me entertained, And twixt her felfe and love did let me pafle. But hatred would my entrance have reftrained, And with his club me threatned to have brained, Had not the Lady with her powerfull fpeach Him from his wicked will uneath refrained. and the other eke his malice did impeach, Till I was throughly past the peril of his reach. Into the inmost temple thus I came, Which fuming all with frankincense I found, And odours rising from the altars flame. Upon 100 marble pillars round, the roofe up high was reared from the ground, All deckt with crownes, and chaines, and garlands gay, And 1,000 precious gifts, worth many a pound, The which sad lovers for their vowes did pay, And all the ground was ftrewed with flowers as frefh as May. 100 altars round about were set, all flaming with their facrifices fire, That with the fteame thereof the temple fweat, Which rolled in clouds to heaven did afpire, And in them bore true lovers vowes entire, And eke 100 brazen cauldrons bright, To bath in joy and amorous defire, Every of which was to a damzell hight, For all the priefts were damzels in foft linnen dight. Right in the midft the goddeffe felfe did ftand Upon an altar of fome coftly mafle, Whofe subftance was uneath to underftand, For neither precious ftone, nor durefull brafle, Nor fhining gold, nor mouldring clay it was, But much more rare and precious to efteeme, Pure in afpect, and like to crystall glafle, Yet glafle was not, if one did rightly deeme, But being faire and brickle, likeft glafle did feeme. But it in fhape and beauty did excell all other idols, which the heathen adore, Farre paffing that, which by furpaffing fkill Phidias did make in Paphos Ifle of yore, With which that wretched Greeke, that life forlore, Did fall in love. Yet this much fairer fhined, but covered with a flender veile afore, And both her feet and legges together twined Were with a fnake, whofe head and taile were faft combined. The caufe why fhe was covered with a veile Was hard to know, for that her priefts the fame From peoples knowledge laboured to conceale. But footh it was not fure for womanifh fhame, Nor any blemifh, which the worke mote blame. But for they fay fhe hath both kindes in one, Both male and female, both under one name. She fire and mother is herfelfe alone, Begets and eke conceives, ne needeth other none. And all about her necke and fhoulders flew A flocke of little loves and fports and joyes, With nimble wings of gold and purple hew, Whofe fhapes feemed not like to terreftrial boyes, But like to angels playing heavenly toyes. And whileft their elder brother was away, Cupid their eldeft brother, he enjoyes The wide kingdom of love with lordly fway, And to his law compels all creatures to obay. And all about her altar fcattered lay Great forts of lovers, piteoufly complayning, Some of their lofle, some of their loves delay, Some of their pride, some paragons difdayning, Some fearing fraud, some fraudulently fayning, As every one had caufe of good or ill. Amongft the reft fome one, through loves conftrayning, Tormented fore, could not containe it ftill, But thus brake forth, and all the temple it did fill. Great Venus, Queene of beauty and of grace, The joy of gods and men, that under fky Doeft fayreft fhine, and most adorne thy place, That with thy fmiling looke doeft pacify The raging feas, and mak'st the ftormes to fly. Thee, Goddeffe, thee the winds, the clouds do feare, And when thou fpread'ft thy mantle forth on high, The waters play, and pleafant lands appeare, And heavens laugh, and all the world fhewes joyous cheare. Then doth the daedal earth throw forth to thee Out of her fruitfull lap abundant flowers, And all the living wights, foone as they fee The fpring breake forth out of his lusty bowers, They all do learne to play the paramours. Firft do the merry birds, thy pretty pages, Privily pricked with thy luftfull powers, Chirpe loud to thee out of their leafy cages, And thee their mother call to cool their kindly rages. Then do the salvage beafts begin to play Their pleafant frisks, and loath their wonted food. The lions roare, the tygers loudly bray, The raging bulls rebellow through the wood, And breaking forth dare tempt the deepeft flood, To come where thou doft draw them with defire. So all things elfe, that nourifh vitall blood, Soone as with fury thou doft them inspire, In generation feeke to quench their inward fire. So all the world by thee at firft was made, And daily yet thou doft the fame repaire. Ne ought on earth that merry is and glad, Ne ought on earth that lovely is and faire, But thou the fame for pleafure didft prepare. Thou art the root of all that joyous is, Great God of men and women, Queene of the aire, Mother of laughter and wellfpring of blifle. O graunt that of my love at laft I may not mifle. So did he fay, but I with murmur foft, That none might heare the forrow of my hart, Yet inly groning deepe and fighing oft, Befought her to graunt eafe unto my fmart, And to my wound her gracious helpe impart. Whileft thus I fpake, behold with happy eye I fpide, where at the idols feet apart A bevy of faire damzels clofe did lie, Waiting when as the anthem fhould be fung on high. The firft of them did feeme of riper yeares, And graver countenance then all the reft. Yet all the reft were eke her equall peares, Yet unto her obeyed all the beft. Her name was Womanhood, that fhe expreft By her fad femblant and demeanour wife. For ftedfast ftill her eyes did fixed reft, Ne roved at randon after gazers guize, Whofe luring baits oft times do heedlefle harts entice. And next to her fate goodly fhamefacednefle, Ne ever durft her eyes from ground upreare, Ne ever once did looke up from her deffe, As if fome blame of evill fhe did feare, That in her cheekes made rofes oft appeare. And her againft fweet chearefulnefle was placed, Whofe eyes like twinkling ftarres in evening cleare Were deckt with fmiles, that all fad humours chafed, And darted forth delights, the which her goodly graced. And next to her fate fober modeftie, Holding her hand upon her gentle hart, And her againft fate comely courtefie, That unto every perfon knew her part, And her before was feated overthwart. Soft filence and fubmifle obedience, Both linkt together, never to dispart, Both gifts of God, not gotten but from thence, Both guerlands of his faints againft their foes offence. Thus sate they all around in feemely rate, And in the midft of them a goodly mayd, Even in the lap of womanhood there sate, The which was all in lily white arayd, With filver ftreames amongft the linnen ftrayd, Like to the morne, when firft her fhining face Hath to the gloomy world it felfe bewrayd. That fame was fayreft Amoret in place, Shining with beauties light and heavenly vertues grace. Whom foone as I beheld my hart gan throb, And wayd in doubt what beft were to be done. For Sacrilege me feemed the church to rob, And folly feemed to leave the thing undone, Which with fo ftrong attempt I had begonne. Though fhaking off all doubt and fhamefaced feare, Which ladies love I heard had never wonne Mongft men of worth, I to her ftepped neare, And by the lily hand her laboured up to reare. Thereat that foremoft matron me did blame, And fharp rebuke, for being over bold, Saying it was to knight unfeemely fhame Upon a reclufe virgin to lay hold, That unto Venus fervices was fold. To whom I thus, Nay, but it fitteth beft For Cupids man with Venus mayd to hold, For ill your goddeffe fervices are dreft By virgins, and her facrifices let to reft. With that my fhield I forth to her did fhow, Which all that while I clofely had concealed. On which when Cupid with his killing bow And cruel shafts emblazoned she beheld, At fight thereof she was with terror queld, And faid no more. But I, which all that while the pledge of faith her hand engaged held, Like wary hind within the weedy foyle, For no entreaty would forego fo glorious fpoyle. And evermore upon the Goddefle face Mine eye was fixt, for feare of her offence, Whom when I faw with amiable grace To laugh at me, and favour my pretence, I was emboldned with more confidence, And not for nicenefle, nor for envy fparing, In prefence of them all forth led her thence, All looking on, and like astonifhed ftaring, Yet to lay hand on her not one of all them daring. She often prayd, and often me befought, Sometime with tender teares, to let her go, Sometime with witching fmiles, but yet for nought That ever fhe to me could fay or doe, Could fhe her wifhed freedom fro me woo. But forth I led her through the temple gate, By which I hardly pafled, with much adoe. But that fame Lady, which me friended late In entrance, did me alfo friend in my retrate. No lefle did Daunger threaten me with dread, When as he faw me maugrey his powre, That glorious fpoile of beauty with me led. Then Cerberus, when Orpheus did recover His leman from the Stygian Princes bowre, But evermore my fhield did me defend Againft the ftorme of every dreadfull ftowre. Thus fafely with my love I thence did wend. So ended he his tale, where I this Canto end. End of Canto 10, Book 4, The Legend of Cambyll and Telamond.